Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Extra Time, the final word on the weekend's action. And what a special weekend it has been. We're going to be reviewing and talking about everything that's happened this weekend, especially, of course, Wolverhampton Wanderers getting another 3 points away on the South Coast at St Mary's against those Saints. It's finished Southampton 1, Wolverhampton Wanderers 2, and combined with the result of Ipswich losing 4-2 at home to the Trees of Nottingham Forest. And as I'm recording this, in the 82nd minute of the game, Leicester trail Manchester United 2-0 as well. It is looking like Wolves have a 9-point gap with 9 games to go of the season, which effectively is 10 with the superior goal difference. We're going to be asking you guys, are Wolves safe? Are they safe? We're going to be reviewing the game, man of the match, performance rating, all of that. We're going to talk a little bit more about Jorgen Strand-Larsen because he got a bit of stick last week, but he scored 2 goals yesterday, which won us the game. And we're going to be getting your questions answered at the end. Of course, we will touch as well on the League Cup win for Newcastle, a team that has waited many, many moons to win a major trophy. And of course, as Wolves fans, we all know about that. And we have a League Cup winning legend that is going to be joining us on the show this evening as well. And we will also be bringing back Room 101. And we're going to be asking on Room 101 this week a specific question to each of our fans. But first of all, I want to say, as always, a massive big thank you to the people at Creation Wolf, wonderful local Wolves fans who power our show. Thanks for their support. They will take your business and most advanced digital solutions to the next level with your brand. You can get in touch with them on creationwolf.com, or the link is in the description below. So let's, without any further ado, introduce our wonderful guest. First of all, I'm delighted to join by a young man, a very handsome chap in his mansion who's just been on the old ivories, who've had the absolute pleasure of spending a wonderful weekend with down in Southampton. Went out for a nice curry last night, also with Boston Brian and his lovely lady, Sue. Craig, it seems only a couple of hours since I saw you last.
It's in time. Time flies, Dave.
I know. How was your weekend, fella?
Yeah, great, mate. I mean, it's been absolutely top notch. Everything's gone for us. So I'm absolutely thrilled, Dave. It's been, great weekend. No beer, though, unfortunately.
Well, you're actually fasting for Lent.
Yeah, absolutely. No carbs for Lent, which is a bit tough, but nice for the weight loss, nice for the gels, a reduction in gels. So yeah, cool.
You've been very, very good. Chris Humphries says he's been to Craig's house. The question is, where is he on the camera? Because that is nice as he broke in. I love it, Chris, with good humour at all. Loads of people saying a hello to you. Another one here. Evening, Craig. Tuber chat. Were you well, mate?
Swimming again. So, and then let's have our views hit the spot, eh?
Fantastic. Well, look, I was out playing snooker on Friday, down in Bilston, I think I was, yeah. And a young lad came over and says, "You're Dave, aren't you, off Always Wolves Fan TV?" And I was like, "Yeah," having a chat. And he said, "I was stood next to Charismatic at a recent game." So if he's watching, I can't remember the chap's name, lovely young lad, decent pool player. And he loved the banter that he had with you at a recent game. So next
just say to Chris, mind it, mate.
Absolutely. Next up, we're joined by Scott. How are you doing, Scott? Good evening, sir.
I'm good. How are you,
mate? I'm good. I'm very good. I've got a smile on my face. It's 86 minutes. Leicester are still losing at home 2-0. So it's looking like a perfect weekend. England won the rugby as well because Craig was happy about that. And so, yeah, it's been, it was a bit cool, but the weather's been brilliant. Well, how was your weekend?
Quiet, to be honest. I'm on my own in the house. I've been working all weekend, catching up on TV. So other than that, I'm good though.
Are you warm enough? It says JS96.
I am very warm at the minute.
Very warm.
Right next to my trusty radiator.
Fantastic. Well, Scott, thank you for joining us this evening. I'm also delighted to welcome a Wolves legend on tonight's show. It's Mr. Mel Eves, everyone. Hey, Mel.
Hi, everybody. Absolutely Boston.
Boston. Absolutely Boston.
I'm Boston,
mate,
tar.
It's great to see you, Mel. What you been up to, mate, recently?
Well, it was really good. Well, apart from seeing you on Thursday, Dave.
Yeah,
I'll let you talk about that if you want to. Yeah, it's been good. It's been good. I was really pleased that I was talking to a good friend of mine who his team, Newcastle, have won something for the first time in I think 63 years or something, or was it 66 years or something? I think it was 69 that they won the last trophy or something. Newcastle. So we haven't gone that long, but no, it brought back happy memories of actually winning it. So.
Well,
great
Mel,
stuff.
I'll tell you what, mate, because you're on, I think we should touch on those happy memories later on in the show. And also, when we get to Q&A at the end, I'm sure you'll be able to field a few questions from all the folks watching.
Well, I'm happy to talk about anything Wolves, you know that, Dave. So, and a big fan of yours and what you do. And there's all credit to you, mate. All credit.
Well, I really, really appreciate that. I'm being told, I've got it on the thing that it's 3-0 to United now. So you can definitely say that Leicester and their goal difference has taken a punch.
I was just saying it was 2-0. So you've just got it there. I'm just watching it now. Because in the corner of my eye, I've got my little pad there. And I've got it on.
Mate. I've got it there as well, mine too. So it's all good. But we'll talk. Yeah, great minds, mate. Great minds think alike.
So if you see my eyes going like that, you know what I'm doing.
Absolutely, great minds.
No, but that's for this game, probably for this game only, but certainly this game, I'm a Man United fan, even though I did have a little bit of time at Man City, but when I left Wolves,
we all kind of definitely want United. We're all a bit worried that they might mess it up as they have been doing, but they haven't tonight. So it's looking good.
It's a great goal. Great goal, the third one. Good move.
And a good finish. Now, we've got loads to talk about tonight. So, guys, there's already a few over 350 of you watching live across channels. Especially if you're watching on YouTube, you can join in the conversation on the chat. Hit the like, hit that subscribe button, and get involved in the conversation. I'm going to kick off first of all with young Scott. We're going to be talking about yesterday, Scott. Just the game to start with, mate. Give us your takeouts from the match yesterday and what points you'd like to make.
Well, before we even kicked the ball, I knew we couldn't take nothing but a win from this. And if we didn't win, I'd probably have a lot more concerns than we already had. I saw a lot of the Wolves fans chanting at the end of the game, we're staying up and stuff like that. But for me, once we beat Ipswich and Leicester, so I think we've still got them two to play, I'd be more relaxed. At the minute, I'm a realist. And yeah, it does look like we're safe, but this Premier League football, anything can happen. And nothing I saw in the Southampton game has made me change my opinion of where we are right now. I still think there's a lot of work to be done. I still think, like you said, obviously I didn't watch last week's extra time, but you said Strand-Larsen got a lot of stick. Personally, I don't see why. I think the guy does a good job for us. He's overshadowed by Kuna most of the time because Kuna bangs in the goals, and he's our star player. But Larsen does a lot of running and drags people out of position and opens up spaces for us and stuff like that. And yesterday, it just showed that he can score when given the ball and when given the opportunity. I do think we were lucky in some aspects with Southampton's defending, because I think Southampton's defending overall was poor. But I don't want to take anything away from the fact that he scored 2 good goals. Overall, for the game, the only thing that stood out for me in that game was our midfield. We are so lucky to have players like Andre and Joe Gomez. They are fighters. They celebrate every challenge, every interception. They are real. You can understand why Joe Gomez was called Pitbull back in Brazil. He's a hard worker, and Andre's probably our best player right now in that midfield. But our defense, I think our defense still needs work, and I think obviously it's doing well right now with the fact of Toti Gomez has come in and back from injury, and he's awesome. He's really been awesome for us. And Agabadu, if I've pronounced that correctly, has been a brilliant signing. But we had to finish the article, and this is still a long season. I think we've got about, is it 10 games, 11 games left?
9.
9. We've got 9 games left. So there's still a lot to do to get us over the finish line, but I'm realistic. I do think we will be safe, but it's Premier League. We've seen teams before who have been safe and bottled it and ended up getting relegated. I don't think that'll be us. I personally don't think that'll be us. But until we beat Ipswich and Leicester, I'm getting too carried away yet.
Mate, you don't have to get carried away. You can be pragmatic, and we're gonna be coming onto all of this. We're gonna be digging deep and getting everyone's thoughts on: are we safe points wise? Technically, of course, we are not. But I mean, it's gonna take some recovery. I mean, from teams that have won between them 7 games all season. But let's go over to Mel, because obviously he's played the game. You've been involved in all sorts of situations throughout. From winning to, probably been in tough battles over the years. But I mean, you watched the game yesterday. You've been obviously monitoring Wolves through this season and seeing where we go. And you watch Wolves very, very closely. It'd be really intriguing not only to hear your opinions on yesterday, Mel, and also the points that Scott made, because obviously he refers to Strand-Larsen there, but also the season as a whole, and obviously Gary O'Neill and Vitor Pereira. Your takes on all of that?
Yeah, Scott made some really good points, and it's from if I put my football hat on, from an ex-player's point of view, as opposed to Wolves fan point of view, because I tick lots of boxes as far as Wolves are concerned.
You do?
Now, I'm obviously Wolves aren't safe mathematically. Looking at the way that the other teams are performing, look at the points that they pick up, and looking at the way that other teams are playing against them as well. I can't see the other teams getting 3 wins out of 9 games. They haven't done that all season. They've done nowhere near that all season. And that from a mathematical point, that means that we lose 9 games. And the way that Pereira's got them set up, the energy within the group, the way that they're buying into what's happening. I was down at the training ground the other week for something different, just another hat that I wear as the chairman of the Young Citizens of the Year Awards. And Wolves always kick off the those awards with a launch event. And funnily enough, I'm watching one of the guys that was really good for us a few years ago, playing for Leicester, Connor Cody, the captain. And then last year, a couple of years, it's been Max Kilman. And now Max Kilman has gone, Nelson Semedo. And this was a couple of weeks ago, before we'd got those vital points. And Nelson Semedo was absolutely top draw. The energy around the group. I bumped into Jose Sarr. There was one or two others. They were in absolutely, and sometimes coming out of training, if the mood in the camp isn't very good, then they wouldn't have been as accommodating and as bubbly. They could have still been polite, but you can tell the energy. You could tell that the dressing room's good. Even because that's just from my instincts and knowing how football clubs work and how dressing rooms work. And I think they're fully behind what they're doing. And that's really important. So from that point of view, I have no concerns whatsoever. I was disappointed and I thought it was totally unprofessional from Cunha after the Bournemouth FA Cup game. He probably, you don't know with the penalties, but not only probably cost us getting into the next round, he's then put himself out of contention for some really important league games. So very, very disappointed in him. And I'm sure he is.
You think it's something that he will, Cunha's going to learn from? Do you think it? Because obviously it's happened twice. Do you think
Well, he hasn't learned from the first time funnily enough, against Ipswich after the game with one of their officials or the kickman or something. I don't know, but he didn't learn from the first one. It just seems like a bottle of pop. Vast majority of the time, everything he does is positive. When he's on it, and he's by far. And we're probably going to lose him in the summer to a really big club. But I couldn't believe what I was seeing, when he was up against Kirkes from Bournemouth, irrespective of however much he's been riled up, whatever's been said, if anything's been said, I don't know. But whatever, he's just lost it. And as a top player, you cannot afford to do that because of the consequences and the importance of him to the team. And then he takes himself out, not through an injury, not through going full-blooded into a tackle and getting sent off or something, but something totally avoidable. Not sure what they're doing with him, what the manager said to him, how they're looking after it, but physical strength he's got in abundance. You can get them fit. The nutritionists, the physios, the fitness guys, they get the players fit to play, and you've got to be fit to play. But emotional intelligence, he's lacking. He's lacking in emotional intelligence because he needs to be able to control his emotions under pressure, and he doesn't. He's done it twice now. And then he needs help in that area. That's my professional opinion.
Yeah.
And because I do a lot of, I'm aware of that, and I've taught a lot of. I haven't worked with Wolves, but I've worked with other professionals in different sports. From golf to boxing, all professional, swimmers, everything. But he needs some help, because if when we get him back, the last thing we can't afford to do is lose him again. But I'm sure they know what they're doing. Well, famous last words. But
absolutely. What's your take on the difference between what Vitor Pereira's done and since he's come in? And do you think Gary O'Neill should have gone sooner?
Well, I'd rather not comment on whether Gary O'Neill should have gone sooner. That these things happen. I mean,
well,
I thought Gary. I was impressed with Gary O'Neill up to a point. I thought he handled himself very well,
with the media.
etc. Yeah, he handled himself very well. I haven't met him other than being in when he's had press conferences, and I've been sitting in a press conference and what have you after a game. The same with Pereira. But I'm really impressed with Pereira. I think he comes across really well. He knows his stuff, and I know that he was in the frame. He's been in the frame before, hasn't he? I think when
Everton.
maybe when before we got Nuno as well. So I think it's been a really good choice, and I think I'm very, very confident we'll be okay for two reasons. Two reasons, which is very, very straightforward.
Yeah,
we are playing well, and we're playing well enough to win points and win enough, win a few more games and get points on the board. And the other three aren't. The other three below us aren't. So it's not. So we could actually just stay where we are, and I can't see them catching us now. But the good thing is that we're playing well enough to get more points on the board. So all in all, great. And the bigger aspect is, what does the club do? What does the club do then? Assuming
you're on about in the summer.
Well, what does the club then do? We've got the short-term thing about, yes, we've got to make sure we stop up. But then how does the club approach next season? You're going to lose Cunha to a big team.
Maybe, probably, but not.
I would say it's not 100%, obviously, but every time somebody does well, you look at the last few years, they go, don't they?
Craig, what's your take on all of that, mate? And of course, obviously, if you've watched the reaction after the game yesterday, you'd have seen some of Craig's views, but obviously he's going to go into a little bit deeper on. I mean, we were having a conversation about. I mean, you had very strong opinions on Jorgen Strand-Larsen before on the way to the game, and you were talking about you can't headers, and I said jokingly, Strand-Larsen header incoming today, and he did get a header, and the second goal was quite good. And I think even you said on the way back he seemed to put himself about as a lot stronger in the thing. But generally, like on what Mel's take as well and Scott's takes, having a chance to reflect on where we're at now and the whole season and yesterday, and obviously the results have gone for us again this weekend. Where are you at now, generally, with Wolves and all of that?
I think that the players we had have been badly let down by She and Hobbs, who appointed an inexperienced manager when they thought that they were being clever, who had got no real track record, certainly not big enough to manage Wolves. And they'd sort of clearly not done their homework, because Wolves as a team, and I've been sort of bleating about this for months, I like a team that has got a clear structure, and any decent manager always makes a team hard to score against before he does anything else. So you need to be hard to score against before you do anything else. And Pierre has done that now, and I think he's going to want serious backing offensively, because Andre and João, fantastic ball winners, but for me they lack that killer pass, that vision. So we need a creative midfield player. Whether we've got one in the club at the moment is debatable with Doyle. Whether Doyle could play at the point of them two, so that they win the ball and they actually give the ball to him, remains to be seen, because he's just not had a run. My argument about Larsen is, when he plays deeper than he played yesterday, he's ineffective. He doesn't jump. He doesn't win enough balls, and he's not enough trouble to the back three of the opposition. Now, yesterday he seemed to play a lot further, forward, and he scored the goals. So maybe it's how he's been played and how we've played. We've not got the best out of him, but for 6 weeks he was not very good at all. And you can only call it as you see these things. I've seen all these comments today. Where are the Strand-Larsen haters now? Nobody hates these players. They just call it if these players don't perform well, fans have absolutely got the right to, say what they think. Yesterday, for me, Dave, why I gave the team 7.5. That was a pressure game yesterday. Wolves were under massive pressure, more so than Saints were. It was pretty much a must-win game for us. We absolutely don't want to go down. Saints have gone for all this. We need to win that. Mel's absolutely right. They are not going to win a game out of the next 9. Leicester exactly the same. Ipswich to me look the strongest of the 3 that they've got. They've got a nice structure. They're really, really tight. And if they get you on the back foot, you need to be really, really careful with them. So that's the one game that I'm a little bit nervous about. But the lads did absolutely brilliant yesterday. It wasn't textbook Wolves. It wasn't free flowing stuff, but it was effective. We got the win. And we looked very hard to score against, and we conceded. If you remember, when 4 of our players went forward, very poor pass from a Guedes when he got through, but we were then short at the back, and they broke on us and scored. So it's looking at these sort of things. Our structure's great now. Really very tight. Agbadou looks like an absolute monster in the middle. Absolutely fabulous. And Totti's looking a different player within, next to him. Players get nervous when they're playing by anybody that is not quite there. It sort of makes you nervous. Mel, I'll tell you that. But he looks absolutely solid, and I think that going forward, we look great. We may lose 2 in the next 9, but I don't think we're safe yet. But I think it would take something huge for us to go down. Really, really huge.
Well, I've got a question here. Patrick wants to know. I'm going to come back on all that. Is this Sooty's top? If you watched an episode from not long ago, you will know that my good friend Sooty is a very passionate Rangers supporter. He loves the Rangers, and he loves his tracky tops, doesn't he? So we had it all done up, and then a lot of the chat was saying it looks like a Celtic top, and he was like, it put the fear of God in him. He went, I can't wear this again. Now, he saw that I'd bought myself some nice new trainers, some Air Force Ones, green and white. So at the game yesterday, before the match, he rings me. He says, I'll see you, Dave. I'll see you, Dave. He says, I bought you a present to go with your trainers. And he was literally over the other side from us. He said, I'll come and see you at half time. And he bought me this tracky top. He says, you wear it, Dave, and you can have it to go with your trainer. So we're wearing it today. But also, what I do want to say this, because Sooty was originally going to be coming on tonight, because he's been quite busy the last few weeks with work and other things. But it is it's 5 years ago today he lost his dad, and so it's obviously quite an emotional day for him, and obviously a sad day. And so obviously he didn't quite feel like coming on tonight, which you can fully understand. But we will, I'm sure, all send. Well, I lost my mom 18 months ago. I know what if you've lost a parent or anything like that, you know how tough it can be, especially on days like today for him. So we send our love to him and his family, and thanks for the tracky top. I am with him on the Rangers, but I do like the top. So yeah, that's why I've got the top, and the reason behind that. Scott,
Thoughts,
yeah, go on,
Dave.
Mel.
I thought I was coming on to a football show, not a fashion show.
Well, to be honest, as Craig will tell you, we're
As you can
very,
see from my gear, I have no idea about fashion. But I
don't know about that. Craig gets got quite a lot about his fashion sense when we were out in Southampton at the weekend. You know, he gets pulled up. You know, I think you're quite you do a bit of modelling in your spare time, don't you, Craig?
I was taking my top off.
Oh, well,
okay, if you are listening to this on the podcast, he does have a top underneath.
Yeah, I do.
It's not,
He does have a top underneath.
Not like quite a few of the Geordie fans at Wembley, you can imagine.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Now, look, my view on it yesterday from the Southampton game, I'm listening to what every one of you said. Look, Southampton, they're desperate, aren't they, for 3 more points, so they won't go down as officially the worst team in Premier League history, which Derby got with 11. They have now lost 9 consecutive home games in a row, which equals a record set by Burnley and Wolves. Funnily enough, we lost 9 in a row, a stat. So they lost again. I think they've now conceded 27 goals and scored 6 in their last 9 home games, which is obviously a terrible record. And Wolves have now won the last 5 visits to Southampton. We've won. So we have a good record against them. We've won 7 in a row against them, which is our longest winning run against any team in the top flight. Equals, I think, that of a record of Burnley, I think, in your time, Mel, between 1975 and 2018 or something like that. That record goes on for obviously in various different times we played with it. I think it equals that. So, look, going into the Southampton match, Wolves have played a lot of games recently where, we haven't gone in as favourites. We've gone in as underdogs because of where we are, or, but the Southampton game is probably the first one where we've gone in with, fans' expectation that we really should be winning this game. So, like what Craig said, that does add an extra little bit of pressure. Southampton are at a point now where they're pretty much were gone, so they can play with a bit of freedom. And I have to say, Southampton, and I said to their fans, they've played with heart and fight for the fans. That which was for a Southampton fan, and for a Wolves fan, they did try for them, and they caused us problems early in the game, and then, as has happened to us many times this season, where we've been on top, didn't take the most of our possession, and then one bit of quality, bang, the other end. We did that to them, and then we did at the start of the second half. They made a mistake. We turned over the ball and finished it, but they had some good opportunities at Southampton at times. And like what Craig said, there's still issues there with Wolves, but they could play with a freedom really that we haven't been able to see of our team play. Vitor Pereira has talked about this in his press conferences. He's talked about the stages making us harder to get goals against in open play, and also in set pieces. The stats are really bad for Wolves this year. We've scored only 5 goals throughout the entire season from set pieces, and we had conceded 25, which is the worst stat either from scoring goals from set pieces or conceding goals. Vitor Pereira has certainly done a lot of work in, dealing with us defending set pieces. We had a massive practice last week against Bournemouth when they had about 18 corners. So he talked about the defensive side, and he talked about putting the patterns of play and how he wants to play. Then he's talked about things like focus and confidence. He's referred to the Fulham game, and he's referred to it very often. If you switch off in this division, you can see the goal. And that's something else that he's working on. And then he's also tried to talk about, once we start to gets safe, we can start to play with a little bit more freedom without that pressure on, and we'll see how that goes towards the end of the season. So look, we got the job done, didn't we, against Southampton? Like we had a brilliant breakaway with Bellegarde. He did so well. I thought Bellegarde another 2 assists this yesterday. He's been like the most improved player since the turn of the year. It's like a new signing. He did all the hard work, and then he just overhit the cross at the end, which was a shame because we had an overload on the back post for 3. And then you talk about the Geddes opportunity when he could have shot, and he tried to pass it inside. It was another opportunity missed. Those opportunities, we've got to be learning. Haven't we?
That was the one he should have really gone the other way to Ain't Nuri, shouldn't he? And
yeah,
Ain't Nuri went absolutely ballistic at him
Absolutely.
quite lightly. But it's decision making. But if I can come, I'd like to come on to Strand-Larsen because he's been mentioned.
Yeah, let's talk about Strand-Larsen.
Funnily enough, I did see Strand-Larsen. We had the Norway before the Villa game. It was on the Friday night. We had the Norwegian Wolves Supporters Club were over for their annual visit, and they had a dinner at the in the WV1 club in the North Bank, the Stan Cullis stand. And there were probably 50, 60 Norwegians come over, which was great. And they'd arranged through the contacts and there was probably seven Wolves players, which John Richards had sorted out. There was myself, Steve Daly, Phil Parks, Colin Brazier. There's I don't want to miss anybody. There were another couple, Kenny Hibbett, that had been invited along, and Strand-Larsen was great, and we had a few words with him, and I know people from the club were telling me that he's really, really highly thought of. Conducts himself really well. He's very popular with the players and with the staff and everybody, and he's got a good attitude. And he did ask, because then he was introduced to me. He says, "Oh, he's another one of our male striker." Went, "Oh, you'll be able to give me some tips then?" And I went, "What do you think?" And I just said, "You just got to keep being brave. Keep getting in the positions to score goals. Do not shy away from getting in positions to score goals." I said, "That's all you got to do." When he came back, because he'd been off injured, hadn't he? When he came back, I don't think he was fully match fit.
No.
And as a centre forward, the one thing you have to do is you've got to hold the ball up. I know that I played up front. I also played wide. But if you play up front, the one thing that you've got to do when the ball comes in, you've got to make it stick, and you've got to keep the ball. And he's been a little bit he hasn't been strong enough sometimes in keeping the ball.
That's spot on.
I think that's.
He's been bullied. Do you say he's been bullied a little bit by the defender?
Yeah.
Knocked off.
In other words, he's been bullied a bit, because sometimes if you stand there, make yourself big, get yourself in there, you've got to then make them foul you. But you can't just stand up and be too easy, just pushed off it. Which, to be fair, that was the reason for our second goal, was Agbadou, and he's been mentioned. He's been immense. I've been really, really impressed with him.
Yeah.
And I love Totti anyway, and I have done from the start, but he's got better and better for me. And he's a big beast, isn't he? The big lad, the Southampton lad that was playing up front.
Yeah, beast. Yeah,
he's
lad.
a blooming handful, isn't he?
He looked like.
But anyway,
he looked like Michael Jordan.
Well, yeah, he was big enough to be a basketball player.
Yeah.
But the ball comes there, and he doesn't jump for it. Agbadou gets over him, knocks it down, and then that results in us eventually coming to Larsen, him just getting it out of his feet and hitting it. Obviously, it's gone through the defender's legs, but that sometimes happens, and it's gone in the corner, 2-0. And you're thinking, but the movement for his first goal was exemplary from a centre forward. Their defending was rubbish. It takes two really. It takes good movement, but then their centre back not being switched on. But usually he's done that a lot of times. He's got in there and he's headed it straight at the keeper, or he's headed it not. But he got enough. He got enough angle on it, and it was a great cross by Bellegarde. I think he's been excellent for us as well. You've mentioned that, Dave, already, but Bellegarde's been different class. And his movement, finishing. I think everybody is really, really pleased for him, because it takes a bit of pressure off him. Because if you're a centre forward and you're not scoring goals, even the first, I commented on Cunha when he first came, because I actually said I like him. He does everything for a striker. His movement's great. He carries the ball really well. He's very strong. He gets in there. I says, but he's a centre forward. He's got everything, but he don't score goals, because he didn't to start with, did he?
No, I was making this point last week, actually. I think,
and yet now it's different. So, but a Haaland for Man City is probably your all-round striker that you can look at. He does everything, doesn't he? He bullies centre backs. He gets hold of it. He brings people. He keeps it simple. He brings people into play, and then he's always looking to just get on the end of stuff. He might have his touches in the game might be the fewest of every Man City player, but it doesn't make any difference, does it?
No, it doesn't.
And it's not his fault that they're not performing and what have you. It's not the fact that he's not doing his bit. Rodri's a big miss for him, and people have sussed how to play against City, haven't they? They've sussed out how to play against them. So, I'm
going to come on now. I'm going to come on now, Mel. I'm going to go with Scott first, and then with Craig. Yeah. Scott, your Lee Moore Windows man of the match, your Fox at Shipley performance rating, your Parkside dental care moment that brought you some joy, made you smile yesterday. As I say, could be a bag of chips. Doesn't matter what it is. What you're going with, mate. And obviously coming back on what you've heard from Mel and Craig, and then we're going to go and get some more thoughts from Craig.
Just carrying on with the Strand-Larsen thing for a minute. Like, for me, I could see potential there for him to be the striker we need him to be. But like, it's like, I want to defend him. I really do. Because I do think he is a good player, and I do think he's a good striker. And I'm happy that he got the 2 goals that he did against Southampton. But as much as he did do the run, especially for the first goal to get the header, Southampton's defending was shocking. If that's against somebody of a higher defensive line, like better defensive line, should I say, is he going to get the goal? Like, I also would criticise the fact that Ramsdale could have stopped both of his goals, really. But he just didn't. They were just poor goalkeeper from my point of view as well. But I don't want to take nothing away from him, because I think he needed those goals. And let's not forget he played with a broken hand as well in that game.
Yeah. Vitor Pereira has been making. He broke his ankle before.
I do think he has been, like, while Kuna's been in the side and playing, I do think what we see Kuna do and get, achieve for us, it overshadows what Strand-Larsen does off the ball for us. Because like some of the goals that we've had in the past games, Strand-Larsen has made the runs to open up that space. Do you know what I mean? So
the equalising goal last week. People can say it was a fault for the Everton goal, quite rightly so, and I agree with that. But he also made the run which pulled the striker away, which opened the gap for Bellegarde to play the pass for Manetzi to get on the end of. That's the point you're making, isn't it?
Yeah, because I think, say for example, Strand-Larsen now goes on a scoring run and starts banging in goals every game we play now. The last 9 games he gets at least 1 goal each game. All that criticism will go, and everybody will forget about it. It's just because he's not scoring enough goals as what we would like him to do. And like I said, with Kuna on the pitch, when he's on the pitch, it overshadows the stuff he's doing, if you know what I mean, when Kuna's getting our goals. Does that make sense? That's what I'm trying to say. I'm probably not describing it well.
So are you giving Jorgen Strand-Larsen your man of the match?
No. My man of the match is going to go to Andre. I think he's an incredible midfielder. I think he is a different kettle of fish and somebody that we definitely need in this squad for Premier League football next season. Him and Joe Gomez in our midfield is a midfield on their day can beat anybody. And Andre and Joe Gomez's passion for the game, for every challenge they put in, every pass they make, it's incredible to see, and we need that right now. So my man of the match is Andre all day.
One of our latest member as well, Andrew Christie, said he was going to join on Friday. He did. He's now on the chat group, our private Discord group. So welcome, Andrew. Thanks for supporting the channel, becoming a member. He said hopefully Larsen will play with a bit more confidence now. Your performance rating, mate, and your moment that made you smile.
I agree with Craig. I reckon 7.57 is good enough. I do think I would have liked to have seen us play a bit better against Southampton, being how poor Southampton have been. But at the same time, we went to their ground to do a job. We did the job. We got the 3 points, and that's all that matters. So for me, I would settle for 7.5 for our rating.
And made you smile?
Just the fact that Strand-Larsen got 2 goals, and I wouldn't say silence the doubters, but maybe gave them a little bit of a reminder of that he is a decent player. It is going to take time to get to where we want him to be. And I think, obviously, let's not forget that he's playing in a league that he's never played in before. He was under the manager of Gary O'Neill, who will play in one certain way and ask him to do one certain, like whatever Gary O'Neill was asking him to do. And Vitor Pereira is playing him a different way and is expecting different things from him. So I think, I honestly believe we'll have Premier League football next season. And if Vitor Pereira is the manager for next season, a pre-season under him will get more out of Strand-Larsen, I hope.
Fantastic. Craig, obviously, if you watched the reaction yesterday after the game, we interviewed Craig. You gave Andre your man of the match. You gave it 7.5, and I can't remember your moment that made you smile. But are you sticking with that, or are you making any changes?
You ask Mel. A judge of a good player is that his first touch gives him time, and it gives him space. And Andre's first touch is clearly magnificent most of the time. It always gives him an extra yard, and that's why he looks so good. And the only thing for me that would stop him being absolutely world class is that ability to put that killer pass in. That's the only thing for me that's missing from his game. That said, I think that the players are just care about the points, and it doesn't really matter how we actually get those points. Every single one of those players that I've seen this year, they have given their all, even when they've really played quite badly. Yes, yesterday again, every single one of them put an absolute shift in, and you can't knock that, even when it's not their day. So it's all about
ask
points.
You one question, because there's a few people on the chat, Craig, and I'll Mel will come. I want Mel to come in on this as well in a minute. When I come to you on your ratings and everything. There's a few people that are sort of getting on to Geddes' back now. I think he's really put a shift in this year, and every time he's come on the pitch, he's given everything. And people are saying like he don't want to be here, get rid of him and stuff like that. And I ain't seen that. The first period he's gone away and he's come back, and I feel like he's fought for the shirt and he's put everything. Yeah, he probably should have. He's finished a couple of goals for us, a few goals for us this year. Mel said he picked the wrong pass yesterday, but I don't think you can say that he hasn't been put a shift. And I also think Sarabia last week, when he came on second half, was excellent. And he again yesterday, he will go in the summer. He will go in the summer. But I'd like to keep Geddes. I mean, where are you with him?
I think fans need to realise that the team's in transition. So you've got a new manager that's come in, and his first job is to make us difficult to score against. I mean, our goals per game conceded, I think under O'Neill, was something like 2.8, was it?
2.6,
That's now
2.6.
yeah.
It's
So
about
that's down to
1.2
what
now.
now?
About 1.2.
So he's done that job, and he now knows that and he said it hasn't he? I've now got to work on offensive play, and that's where we'll see these players in the club work on them being more effective. Maybe get us for me. Vitor's done a great job with him because his body language has changed completely. He's gone from a guy that absolutely clearly didn't want to be here to someone that's working really hard for the team. I like him, and I think he's skillful, and I don't think we've seen anywhere near his potential yet.
Fantastic.
I agree with it.
Any changes on your on anything else, or sticking with that?
Dave, can I just come in there? Something I got, which everybody's entitled to their view. He said he's too inconsistent for me. I would sell him. How can you be consistent when you're playing in a system that you don't know what system you're playing from week to week under a guy that, in my opinion, Mel won't say this, but I will. He was clueless. Gary O'Neill
now.
Yes, Gary O'Neill was clueless. He could not set a football team up with a structure. End of story, right? So how on earth can you get the best out of your players when they don't even know what system that they're going to play in? So whilst I understand that, let's just say that people that haven't watched football for such a long time, I can understand why they're criticising these players, but you've got to also ask yourself what system that they've had to play in, what sort of dressing room it's been like, and we all saw players fighting after games. Who can give the best in that field? You can't. We've got a new manager who for me, is a top manager. He's absolutely got everything right so far. And next season, I predict that if we get 2 or 3 signings, there are the right signings, we're going to push for top 6 because we have got some really good players at 2 Wolves that have been spoilt, in my view, by poor management. And Jeff Shee and Hobbs have also got to take their part of the blame for it.
Fantastic.
Dave, can I just add to that as well?
Yeah.
Like, you got to understand as well, with the new manager coming in, we are a different team. You might not show like completely, like there might not be a full turnaround just yet, but we are a different team. You can tell in small little aspects. Like, the way I love this manager is like this. Lemina lost his head fighting with players on pitch. He's now gone. Craig Dawson, I don't know the full extent of what's happened to there, but Craig Dawson's not playing there. Right? And then you also look at the fact as well, like you said, he came in, his job was to get us defensively set up. And since he's done that, I would say we've got a strong defence, just as strong as it was when Mosquera was in there. Now you think about this, Totti playing the way as well as he is, along with Agabadu, or butchering his name. Like yeah, sorry. And then you put
pineapple.
yeah, and then you get Mosquera back, ready for next season. That defence, I'm happy. Look, three men at the back, I'm happy with 2 wing backs. I'm totally happy with that defence, and I'd have a lot more trust in that defence. And like, you've only got to look at some interviews that you've seen. Like, Doyle gave an interview a couple of months back where he said the dynamics inside in that side have changed now. They're a lot more happier. They're playing with a lot more smiles on their faces, and they're all trying to do what they can to keep Wolves in Premier League football. This manager has been a godsend for us. Gary O'Neill should have gone sooner, in my opinion, but I think Victor's come in the right time to get this club into a place where we can head into a direction away from the relegation. And the thing is, like I said earlier in the show, I am realistic. I'm not going to be jumping up and down saying we're safe just yet. I'll be more comfortable once we beat Ipswich and once we beat Leicester. But I do think we've got the right manager. I do think the team is in the right place. And I just hope it continues going upwards, not down.
I love it. Mel, right. Come back on that. Europe next season. If we get the right investment, man of the match performance rating, your moment of the day yesterday. Let's hear your thoughts on that.
I'm just going to go back in time because that's what I do sometimes, because I know something about that. When go back to Wolves. This is more for the older listeners and viewers. 79-80 season. We finished 6th. Our away record was better than our home form. Because we just we just got a new stand and the pitch was too far away from the pitch, and it was easier. It wasn't easy. It was easy for us to play away than at home. Put it that way. And we beat, literally in that season, we did the double over Man United, who were neck and neck with Liverpool for the league title, and they just lost out to Liverpool because we were the only team to beat Man United at Old Trafford all season.
Wow, that's cool.
We went on to beat.
In fact, up until about a couple of years ago, we hadn't won there, had we? Until someone we won.
Well, yeah. Joe Martinho, I was the one that scored in that game when we won 1-0. We beat them 3-1 at Molineux.
Yeah.
Kenny Hibbett, Andy Gray, and John Richards scored the goals. See, I can remember even if I don't score. But the thing is, the biggest compliment that we got from opposing managers in the Premier League, in the Division 1, which is the Premier League now, how difficult we were to play against. Not that we'd got people like Andy Gray, John Richards, Kenny Hibbett, loads of players that could score goals. We were difficult to play against, and that was the best. That was from quite a few of the top managers at the time. They're so organised, they're very difficult to play against, because John Barnwell, Richie Barker came in. He alluded to what has already been mentioned. The first thing you do when you come in to be the manager is you make the team hard to beat. You get them solid. You get them everybody knowing what they're doing. And that is the key. The key is everybody knowing that they play. We played 4-4-2. He's playing 3-4-2-1 now. But it doesn't make any difference whether you play 4-3-3, 4-3-4-3, whatever. He's playing 3-4 with wing backs, 2, and then 1 up front with Larsen. The actual way it's the fact that everybody knows when they go on the pitch what their duty is and what their job is when the team's got the ball and when you're out of possession, what your duties are. And you've got to, and I remember one training session where we were doing team shape, because that's all we did for about 2 months when Richie Barker and John Barnwell came. And it got boring, but it got so bored. We slowly grew into it. Everybody knew exactly what they were doing. And I remember once the whistle blew and Richie Barker said, "Mel, easy. You're a yard out of position." A yard? Not 10 yards. A yard. Because he was, but he did it with everybody else as well. It wasn't just me, obviously. But it was, "Melch, I want you there. I don't want you there." And then he explained why. He says, "Yeah, because so-and-so, that's where the danger is. I want you exact." And so everybody knew their role down to a fine tooth comb, because at the very, very top level, it's margins. It's absolute margins win your games. And that's what won us the game yesterday, is that in positions, we got the goals. And Larsen, for me, was brilliant yesterday because he got 2 goals. And the hardest thing to do, certainly at the top level of the game, at any level, you score goals. That's why you pay top dough for goal scorers. And also you pay good dough for defenders. You pay good dough for all positions, but the biggest is obviously goal scorers because that changes games. It's already been mentioned. I thought Andre was different class. Andre and Gomez. We're so fortunate to have those two in midfield. But Guedes, again, he's come back a different player. He put him in the game. The first game was Leicester, wasn't it? Leicester away when we won 3-0 for Pereira. And I thought he was very good then. It gives us an option. We've still got the other option as well, talking about the running. Wangi Chan, because when he's at it, he's decent, mate. Channy, I like him. But he's not been told. He's had little injuries and what have you that slowed him down.
Prefers to play through the middle than out wide.
Well, I like him. I'm just saying. I don't think he's a centre forward.
I mean, do you think he's better and more effective through the middle than out on the sides? What I'm saying.
The way that we're playing at the moment, he's better playing with 2 up front and him playing off the centre forward.
Yeah,
he's playing off so in other words, if he comes on and he's wide, he needs to be the one that gets up and gets round Larsen as quick as possible.
Yeah.
But he's decent, Channy. So we have got options. Sarabia, I like. He'll probably go because he's not going to get a regular place. But
he's out of contract anyways. I think
that's what I mean. But he's got a wonderful left foot. The lad's quality. He's probably losing his legs, technical term, just using his legs a little bit. But the way that he's using him, he's bringing him on and what have you sometimes, or if he starts the game, we know he's not going to finish it. It's getting the best out of him for the team. So I think Vitor Pereira has been a breath of fresh air.
Are you giving Andre your man of the match?
Yeah, no, I'd give Larsen because it's the hardest thing to do. If I'd gone to Southampton and I was playing for Wolves, or I've gone somewhere and I've not just scored the winner 1-0, but I've scored the 2 goals and we've won 2-1. I'm having it, mate. No, but you can get to with all the other stuff. He's done his job, Andre. He's different class. I love him to bits.
I gave him man of the match yesterday as well.
They're both little what you'd call pit bulls or ratters, aren't they? So in midfield, which is what you want. I played with 3 of the best midfielders that the club's ever had in Kenny Ibbett, Willie Carr, and Steve Daly went to Man City. But I watched some old footage about them even just before I got in the team, and you see it on the Match Day Revisited or whatever it's called, Match Revisit, and even with the pitches that we played on, they were playing bloody one stuff and stuff that's exactly the same as today. And people said we just booted it then.
I know.
Didn't.
Your performance rating from yesterday out of 10?
It's what 8. I thought they did what they needed to do. That they limited Southampton because it's not just possession. Because I don't think you alluded to, and I saw and listened to the pre-match news conference with Pereira. And I was very impressed because he alluded to the fact that he's working on all the different disciplines, which every good manager does. I mean, it's not rocket science. But it does tell on the pitch when the players just are there. It's not by luck that they're doing the various things, and they're buying into it. And no, it was excellent. That's why I've got no qualms. Apart from mathematically, it's not certain.
Well, absolutely, and we're going to come on to that.
In my head, unless we have, a spate of really bad injuries, but then you've got a situation where those other 3 teams below us have got to win at least 3 games, and I can't see them doing that.
Absolutely, and I'm gonna want to come on to that toward the end. And guys, if you've got questions for Mel and the rest of the team, we're doing a Q&A at the end, so hold on for that. I did promise. I met a Wolves fan yesterday who I know very well, Kevin Harris, who does a lot of stuff for history stuff to do with Wolves. He does the history walks and stuff like that, raises some money to have gravestones repaired and things like that. Mel, you'll know Kevin. And he's asked me to mention this, so someone might know this person. Kevin Harris, who does the Walking with Wolves heritage tours, he conducts heritage projects concerning Wolves origins. He's looking for a descendant of John Brant Brodie, one of Wolves' co-founders back in 1877 for his next project. John passed away in Wolverhampton whilst the headmaster of Woodfield School in 1925. He wants to know if anyone knows of any living descendant. Please let us know. Get in touch with Always Wolves. Message us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or admin@alwayswolves.co.uk. So that we can let Kevin know, because he wants to have some dialogue. He has the funds for a project, but needs position to proceed. A similar project for the other co-founder, John Bainton, has already been completed. That's to do something with his gravestone, I think. So if anyone knows of a descendant of John Brant Brodie, please drop us a line. Now, before we get on to Room 101, Mel, of course, today was the the League Cup final, and Newcastle had waited many, many years to win a trophy, finally won. And as Wolves fans, we would love to win a trophy. But Mel, you've had your hands on that trophy. Ecstasy. I think is that you in the background there? Is that you?
Yeah, it's to the right as we look at it of Kenny Ibbott, yeah.
Yeah. What was going through your mind that moment, Mel? Can you remember that moment? You're holding the tankard and stuff up there. You know, this was in the, I think in the Pink or in the Express and Star at the time. It was the headlines, League Cup final ecstasy. And by the way, great news for the Toon today for their fans. They're great, proper fans. And God, we want a moment like that again, Mel. That moment.
Yeah. Yeah. No, brilliant.
What was going through your mind that moment there? Can you even remember
that particular moment? No idea, but you just as it says there, you're just in ecstasy, aren't you? You're just absolutely so euphoric that going round, doing your lap of honour and everything afterwards, after you've collected your medal and we've collected the cup and come down and had the photos taken and then just go around slowly around the pitch. He's absolutely wonderful. That's the kind of thing. That's the kind of thing you live for. And 2 great signings that he's talking about the close season and making signings that matter. John Barnwell went out and got Andy Gray and Emily News. Andy Gray was the PFA Player of the Year, Young Player of the Year at Villa, and a British for some of the younger fans listening. For Wolves to go out and spend a record British transfer record fee, that's like going out and spending well over 100 million now. We went out and got Andy Gray and Emily News as well. And but Emily was coming to the end of his career at Liverpool. He'd won absolutely everything. He'd won the European Cup. He'd won the league, the FA Cup. In fact, the only thing he hadn't won of a top honour was the League Cup. And
wow.
He won it with us.
That was what
that
was
is
missing.
Yeah, because I remember because we lost Emlyn in his late 50s to a brain tumour, and we all went to. There was a good contingent of us, 7 or 8 of the team that played in the 80 final. Went to his funeral in Sheffield, and his wife Barbara and his son Emlyn Jr. actually said to us, they said he was so pleased that 2.5, 3 years, I think he had at Wolves at the end of his career. He said to cap it off with winning something, to make the set, and he hadn't won. And as importantly, he said the way that he was treated by the Wolves fans and the players, he was embraced. And he said, Matt, just put the finishing touches to which was already and obviously a absolutely incredible career. But so that was great. So that picture there is absolutely fantastic. You'll have to send me it because I don't know whether I've got it.
Mate,
I've got
I'll send it you over. I'll WhatsApp it over to you, mate. No problem.
You have to WhatsApp it over to me.
I've
got a few pictures. I'll probably have somewhere, but I can't remember it.
It's a special moment, isn't it, Mel? Special memories for you. Can you remember what it was like lining up in the tunnel before the game and stuff?
That was interesting because we went up about on a Thursday, I think Wednesday or Thursday, stopped at a hotel that had got some grounds to it, so we could get the ball out and practice and do a little bit of preparation. Then on the Friday after training, Friday lunchtime, or early afternoon, we came to Wembley to have a look because there was a few of the, like Emlyn, obviously, John Richards, Kenny Hibbett, Jeff Palmer and Derek Parkin had played in the 74 Cup final when we beat Man City. But there were quite a few of us that hadn't been to Wembley. So he thought it was a good idea for us to have a look, see which dressing room we'd be changing in, and just walk on the pitch. They let us actually walk on the pitch and for a little bit, come off it. They wouldn't let us train on it, but we could have a look at the surroundings. So we were there for about half an hour, 3/4 of an hour, just having a look round. And then we went back to the hotel, prepare for the game. But when we came, obviously, the following day, the crowds, I'm getting emotional now. The crowds were absolutely brilliant. Top player there, by the way, Martin O'Neill. What a good lad as well off the pitch. Fantastic. There was me doing something that you usually see me doing, was actually tackling properly. But we then, the hairs were standing on the back of my neck when we were in the coach coming down going to, before you go in under the tunnel, and then you're out to the side of the fans, get in the dressing room, and then when you line up about 2:45, they get you out. You line up in the tunnel before you're going out onto the pitch, because you came out behind the goals at the old Wembley. I know it's on the halfway line now, but it was behind the goals, and there was a massive tunnel before you actually come out into the and then come out behind the goals and walk across to be presented to the royalty, whoever was at the game. And you'd got all the Nottingham Forest players who'd been there. This was their third year on the treble. They were going for the treble, and they were favourites to beat us and win the League Cup for 3 years on the row.
That's correct.
As well as they were then going to retain the European Cup a couple of months after they'd played us as well. So they were pretty good at handling situations like that. And they were as confident as anything. They were juggling the ball. They were laughing and joking. A few of our lads were talking, but I don't think I said anything. I just kind of kept quiet and was looking straight ahead. And then when we came out, I think I was about fourth or fifth in line. I think it was behind George Berry or something. And you come out into the opening where the crowd is. But what they can't prepare you for when we went to look on Friday, we knew everything was set out, what the dressing room was like, what the tunnel was like, and how far it was, because it was a walk from the tunnel all the way onto the pitch. Was when you actually got little bit onto the pitch and out into there, the noise, because we come out the Wolves end, and there were 100,000 people there, and if that, and I'll tell you this, there must have been 70,000 Wolves fans there.
Wow. Yeah.
Because I didn't hear 90 minutes plus or whatever. I never heard Forest sing anything. All I could hear was just Wolves all the time. And the house, you talk to George Berry, talk to Peter Daniel, talk to a few of the lads that hadn't been, that hadn't played there before. The hairs stand on the back of your neck. And I think I said we were going to be lined up. I said to George, I said, got to win for these. Got to. And fortunately,
I can see.
Well, yeah, I still get emotional, because what everybody doesn't, what isn't usual is the fact it's a bit like Dan Burn today for Newcastle. He's a Newcastle fan. I'm a Wolves fan. I was brought up as a Wolves fan as a kid, and so to do that for you, there's nothing better than being fortunate enough and to play football professionally, but then to do it for your team is well, it's the icing, it's the cherry on the top, it's everything on the top of the cake, isn't it? So
I mean,
brilliant.
What was it like when that final whistle went, Mel? That moment,
wow.
Was it relief, sheer joy, ecstasy, or everything all combined? Were you
well,
in
I think
a
it's
daze?
everything all combined. Everything all combined. It's a bit like Newcastle today. Liverpool have got a goal back to give themselves a chance, but we weren't hanging on so much. But the thing is, naturally, I think you just do drop off. But with that, if you look, they didn't create that many chances at all, because we knew we'd got a game plan, and the one person we stopped, their best player. Now, a lot of people might say, well, who was that? The first £1 million player, Trevor Francis. The first black player to play for England, Viv Anderson. Martin O'Neill, the great creative midfielder. No, it was a little fat guy on the left wing for them, called John Robertson, who was different class, by the way. But we changed, because we could sometimes change the formation of how we played, but we played 2 right backs against their left winger. Jeff Palmer, who didn't take prisoners, by the way, and Peter Daniel, who didn't take prisoners, because Peter Daniel had played for England, same as me, England B, but he played England B right back. But he could play midfield as well. So we played on a 4-4-2, and we played Peter Daniel wide right and Jeff, and they were both it was nailed into them, because they'd watch Robbo. If we stop Robbo, we'll win the game, because we've got enough, because we had enough with the players in the team. Obviously with King John, with Andy, with myself, Ibby. We got enough people who could. We knew we'd get a chance. We knew we could score a goal. So the big thing was stopping them. And that's why it was a little bit of more of a dour game. It was more like a chess match than the 74 final against City, which was a bit more open and probably better entertainment if you're looking at it. But there's no better entertainment than winning the flipping game, is there?
Mate, I mean, I think I can speak for myself, Craig, Scott, and everyone in. We've got nearly 700 tuning in live. There'll be thousands more that will watch it back. There'll be another couple of thousand listeners to the podcast. It is for us fans, like you, as a Wolves fan, have done everything any Wolves fan would love to be able to do, to play for the club, to play in a final, to lift a trophy. And like what you said, I think what resonates with all of us. You were stood in the tunnel that day listening to all the fans, and you were saying, we've got to do it for these guys today. Craig, were you at that final?
I couldn't. Both.
The thing is, I couldn't. Sorry. Go on, Craig. I was just going to say then. No, I was just going to say, we couldn't hear the fans in the tunnel. That was the thing.
Yeah, and
All
when you
we
came
could hear
out,
was, or it was only when we came out, but then just when we came out enough, it just suddenly hit you
like a wave.
like a wave. It was just
Really low,
you
Dave.
heard nothing, and then it just hit you. The hairs on the back of your neck, you just went, wow.
Dave.
And nobody told us about that. Nobody said, "Oh, this is going to happen." But
Wembley, Dave, of course, it was standing, and it was all really even all the way around, and the noise levels from the fans were just unbelievable. And you always got the singers able to stand together to start singing, obviously. Whereas now that's harder to do because you're in seats. So, but all the singers used to stand in the same place and start everybody else off. And Mel's right. I'm both 74 and the 80 finals. There were loads of Wolves fans there. And me and my cousin in the 74 final were standing there thinking, how are we going to get to Stoke? Because that's where the replay was going to be. And then King John sticks that in. And they're just magic days, aren't they, Mel? Obviously, you've been on the pitch. It must be wonderful for you. But us as fans, you're really sharing that. It's a real team thing, isn't it, Mel? The team and the fans are really together for those days. It's a real unit. But the noise at the old Wembley was unbelievable, wasn't it, Mel?
Well, 74 was the first time I'd ever been to Wembley, and I went as I was still at school.
Yeah.
Because I stayed on at school till I was 18, so I'd have been 16, 17 then. And then I signed for Wolves the year after, 75. So the next time that I went to Wembley was 86 years later, and I've got a slightly better view this time because I'm on the pitch. There was no girders or anything in front of me. So, but it was a fantastic day as a fan. You know, and we were, and I was level where I was sitting was the end where JR scored the goal that won us the game against City. You know, so I'm out my seat and we're there. But to actually be on the pitch and do it, you know, I'm very blessed to be able to have done that. And you know, it's absolutely fantastic.
I mean, some great memories, Mel. There. Thanks ever so much for sharing. We're going to just move on now, and there will be a Q&A at the end for Scott, Craig, and Mel. But we're going to do a little bit of the fun thing. We did it for last week, and it was really, really fun. We're just going to do a little bit of Room 101. Last week we did some clubs. This week I'm going to be asking. We're going to start with we'll start with Scott. We're going to be, if you can banish any player at all in the world from history, Wolves or non-Wolves, into Room 101. You're going to ask you who it is, and then you're going to put a compelling argument, and we'll decide whether they can be put into Room 101 or not. So, Scott, you've got the floor. Who are you going to go? And then we're going to go Craig, and then we're going to go Mel. So, Scott, and everyone in the chat can join in with this as well. Unfortunately, Neil, I know you've said chairmanship. It's got to be a player, but we might do chairman at some point. Scott, who are you going to go with?
So I just don't like this guy at all. I think he's just a horrible person, even though I've never met him. But I hear loads of things in the news about him. Joey Barton.
Right, yeah.
Can't stand him. That's the guy I would put in Room 101.
Is it? Can you explain why you don't like him?
He just thinks he's better than what he actually is. He just thinks he's literally better than what he actually is. Like, even when he's become a manager, he's still carrying on being the idiot that he is, basically. Like, I'm trying to keep it PG. So,
yeah,
he's not a pleasant bloke, is he? No, and I don't think many people like Joey Barton. So,
do you know what? I've seen all the stuff that he's done online and things like that, and created the hate and all that sort of stuff, and what have you. So I think I'm going to let you put Joey Barton into Room 101 because I don't think the world will be football will be any worse without him. So I'm going to let that one go, and you can have Joey Barton in room 101. Craig,
Thank you.
who are you going to go with?
I'm torn, but I'll give you two, but I'll pick one. Okay.
Okay.
First of all, Maradona. Maradona's a cheat.
Okay.
He's a druggie. He's not a great example for the game because whilst he was incredibly skillful, his behaviour was not what I would want youngsters and to see in the game. The handball against England in the World Cup. I mean, how did the officials not pick that up? So Maradona is the first argument, and the other one is a guy. He's going back a bit. Ronald Koeman. Now, Ronald Koeman should have been sent off in a game, Holland v England, when David Platt was through on goal in a game we had to win. And the referee, the laws of the game said that the referee had to send him off because Koeman was the last person, in the back line. So he'd stopped a clear goal scoring opportunity from David Platt. The referee only gave him a yellow card, and Koeman 10 minutes later scored for Holland from a free kick. One of the worst decisions that I've ever seen, and there was very strong rumours that the ref had been tapped up to ensure that the Holland went through. So my choice is Koeman, believe it or not, because it was cynical, and he scored the goal after that, and England never went to the Euros for that reason. But Maradona's a cheat, and he's Argentinian as well. So that's a good enough reason for him both to go in the bin.
Okay, well, you can pick one to nominate. Which one are you going with? You can either go Maradona
Ronald
or Koeman.
Koeman.
You're going to go with Ronald Koeman. Well,
Yeah.
Craig, I've heard your argument on Ronald Koeman, and I can understand the reason, but it is only one game. And I think what I'm going to do, instead of putting Ronald Koeman in room 101, is a bit like with Lucy last week, who nominated Aston Villa because her dad made her wear an Aston Villa top, her uncle, and we put her uncle into room 101 instead. I think the blame particularly lies with the referee on that game rather than Koeman, because if you had a different referee, maybe you would have been sent off. So I'm going to put the referee into room 101, and if there's a different referee on the pitch, Koeman gets sent off and he doesn't score the goal. Would you be happy with that?
Cool. Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Fair enough. So this is going to be interesting because Mel's played against a few players, and obviously watched a lot of football over the years as well. So it'll be interesting to see whether he goes with someone you haven't played with or someone you have. Or maybe you can go for one of each, Mel, if you want.
Yeah, look, I could go down the route of, because there were a few players that we played against that the lads knew before you went out, because you hadn't got something that I'm going to mention in a minute then, and then you always knew that certain teams or certain players in certain teams would do stuff off the ball that, out the blue, they'd be running past you. You'd get an elbow in the chops or something, or they'd stand on your, they'd try and whack, stamp on your foot or different things, because you didn't have any VAR then. And they'd always be careful enough to be looking at the linesman and the referee to say, right, they're not looking, bang, and run off. Because they were always cowards. Well, most of them were. Some of them were psychos, which we'd come. No, I remember playing it. I don't want to mention any names on here because it's.
Oh, why not? It's just no one's listening, Mel.
No, they are. That's the point. That I remember the one game we played, and this lad who's I didn't know, but he wasn't right, and then I'm just going to give the ball back to him. We're winning and what have you, but his face, he looked at me and I was and I heard one of the opposition who I get on with really well said, "Mel, Evesy, don't. He's a he'll fucking kill you." Sorry, that's a technical term, but that's it wasn't me saying that. I'm saying exactly what I was told, so that's not me. I wouldn't use that language.
Yeah.
He'll say, "Is it?" And he was looking at me, but he was looking 2 miles through me. His head had gone. In other words, if I hadn't just given him the ball and just moved out the way,
Yeah,
he would have kicked off. But I'll tell you who needs to go in room 101.
go on. We're literally. Can I just do a drum roll?
Yeah. The officials on VAR, not VAR itself, because that's only the technology. The people interpreting the technology, stick them in room 101, and they need to be guided by experienced former players that have played the flipping game.
Mel, can I ask you a question on that? If someone was to approach you to do the VAR, would you like think, you know what, I could do that, and would you do it?
I could do most of the lads, because all you got to use common sense, but understanding the game, understanding whether somebody's he's bought a penalty there, or he's trying to do that, or whether because you can slow it down as much as you like. Well, he's thinking, yeah, it is a physical contact game, but we know, and most of the right thinking fans know as well, because we've seen enough about it. Like everybody on here will know. We'll probably come to the same consensus 99 times out of 100 if we have to have an incident that we have to judge on and make a decision on.
I've got
but these idiots, they'd only get the right answer probably 30-40% of the time, let alone blooming 70-80%. It should be blooming nearly 100%. You'll get the right decision, and then sometimes situations are what we would call subjective. So, but this is really objective. It should be really black and white, and they still get it wrong. I've just pulled me. It pulls my hair out.
Chris says you were talking about the nudging in the back. He says he doesn't remember playing against you. I.e., I think he's telling me he's trying. He was a little. I think he was a right back or a left back, and he's trying to say that he used to do that sort of thing, like nudging, and when the refs weren't looking.
Oh, you can get all the kind of stuff, but I mean, some of the players that I could mention.
Oh, mate, just hypothetically talking, if there's a player that should go into room 101,
there's no players that should go into 101. The thing is, my number one rule.
Yeah.
And I will break it occasionally, but my number one rule that I endeavour to stick to the vast majority of the time is, if I can't say something really good about somebody, I say nothing.
Okay, you can tell us off air later, mate. You can tell us off air who you're thinking about, but we won't say on here. But like Mel, obviously, he's been very diplomatic there because he played the game, and I can understand that. But like, obviously, VAR is one that a lot of people would definitely put in thing. But as it's for players tonight, I can't put it in room 101 because obviously we're going with players. So some good nominations today. So we're running to the final stages of tonight's show. It's been absolutely fantastic. I'm just going to go around in a second and ask everyone here is if on the pundits here, Mel, Scott and Craig, are we safe, and get their quick thoughts. But whilst I'm doing that, this is your time, and we've got nearly 700 of you watching live. Any questions for Scott, for Craig, for Mel, or the panel about anything football and non-related or whatever it is? If you need a bit of advice on something, put it in there as well. You can ask the question now. Chris is going to go with the first one in a second. So if you want to put your question there, Chris, we'll put that on the screen. But quickly, round the table, Scott, final answer. Are Wolves safe? Are we staying up?
Well, like I've been saying, I'm realistic, so I'm not going to be jumping up and down saying that we're safe. But I honestly believe that we are.
Craig.
Take a catastrophic drop in form and an unbelievable improvement in form from the bottom two, because Saints are down, to turn things around. So the probability is yes, we are safe, but until we're mathematically safe, you've got to say no.
Okay. Mel.
Yes.
We're safe. We're staying up.
100% yes.
Okay. I've got.
In fact, I'm going to stick my neck out. I'm going to say Liverpool are going to win the league and Wolves are going to stay up.
I think you should put a bet on that. I will say that if you do
my
watch,
my daughter works in the bookies, so and I wouldn't get very good odds on that, would I? So that double.
well,
Liverpool
that's
winning
true.
the league and Wolves stopping up.
You
I
wouldn't
think
get
that'd be
very good
so
odds.
much odds on it to be crazy. Yeah.
You wouldn't get very big odds as well. I will say, if you watched the reaction yesterday, straight after the game, because Craig's gone until mathematical was safe, but he was singing, "We are staying up, we are staying up," on the reaction yesterday. So he is quite positive.
And the games against Leicester and Ipswich are important, and we haven't got to win them. We just got to make sure we don't lose them.
Absolutely. I was going through this with Emma earlier. We're looking at, and I think I might have been talking with Craig earlier in the car. I was looking at who everyone's playing, and I was trying to be generous, very generous to Ipswich and both Leicester in certain results. I was even taking into account that they both beat us. Just to try and be as negative as positive for them and what points that they can get. And I worked out that my best case scenario for Ipswich or Leicester, best case, was they get 13 points, best case. So basically, we've only got to, in my opinion, get 4 points from 9 games. 4 points from 9 games to be safe. So also, the Opta have given Southampton out of 100 a 0% chance of staying up. They've given Ipswich and Leicester 0.07% chance of staying up. And Wolves' chances of finishing in the bottom 3, according to the Opta stats and running all the scenarios that they do on the supercomputer 1,000 times, Wolves have a 1.8% chance of being relegated. I tell you what, I'd take those odds right now. I can't. Obviously, you don't have egg on your face, but we would have to pretty much not win another game, and they've got to win more games than they've won all season, and some. Can't see it. So I think we're gonna stay up. Let's go to the questions. Let's have a look. I'm going with let's Chris go first. Who wants to answer this? Mel, let's go with you quickly. Nice and short but punchy answer. How many players who would we sell? And how many should we build to build a team for Vitor Pereira?
I was going to say, have we got a new manager?
Vitro.
It's Vitor.
Vitor.
Anyway, I'm not sure. I think it's not a case of how many to sell. It's how many you would need to bring in to make. So you look and you're saying how many are good enough to take us where we want to go. And out of the squad, you probably think there's a good basis for there. Then you need to bring in probably. I think you need 2 or 3 players. You may need 3 or 4. So you need
what positions, Mel? Sarabia's going to go, probably. Cunha's probably going to go. There's a fair chance that Ryan Aït-Nouri might go. Semedo, I'd offer him the money, whatever he wants to stay, because it's going to cost us more to buy someone personally, because I think he's good. But you've got the likes of Rodrigo Gomez, that's young lad, Pedro Lima. I think, you've got Yersa Mosquera coming back next year. Hugo Bueno is probably going to hopefully come back from Feyenoord. We talk about getting the defence right. We've got decent midfield. We've also got in the midfield Tommy Doyle, of course. We're going to probably lose a couple of forward players as well. And maybe would you bring in a new wing back or a full back? Do you not think we need another striker?
Yeah, that's the situation about. You see, I'm not there all the time, so it's looking and saying, right, what players does he need to make sure he's got a balanced squad? And that's their job. I'm not there all the time, so I just see it and see the lads that are playing. I don't know too much about the lads coming through or anything else, because that's what you'd have to look at as well. What lads have we got coming through? Are there any 17, 18, 19-year-olds that we, unless you watch the youth team, unless you watch the 21s, you wouldn't know about? I don't know. Arsenal have been very good at that, bringing players through like Saka and what have you, through the youngsters. We need to get better at that. For me, Liverpool are good at it. We need to get better at, because we seem to produce players and then suddenly we sell them at 16, 17, 18. They're gone. We need to start producing our
bringing them through
players
better.
Bringing them through better for the first team, for it to be more sustainable, because we can then start singing, yeah, he's one of our own. Since there isn't anybody playing at the moment that's come through, is there? Gibbs White was probably the last one, and then he's gone.
We have produced a few over the years, but yeah, I'll get what you're saying.
I don't think we've done enough. I think we could do more.
We have got some talent in the under 21s, and we have got some younger players.
That's undoubted. I'm not arguing that fact. I'm not arguing the fact that they're doing a good job. It's just the fact of how do we do what some of the other clubs are doing? Is get old.
Harvey Elliott at Liverpool.
Yeah,
that type of thing.
Yeah. We Alexander, Trent Alexander. We don't. We don't produce enough. Now whether that's down to the finances and the way that the clubs run.
Do you not think though sometimes it's easier to bed someone in a team that's towards the top of the table and winning a lot? When you're down the bottom, you need it's a difficult type of thing. But that's another conversation. Scott, will Vitor Pereira be here at the start of next season?
Yes.
Someone wants to know. And we've got another question from Mel here. Michael Spears wants to know, Mel, who did you make your debut against, Mel, and what was it like when you found out you were playing?
Well, my debut, I was a late starter because I only joined at 18 straight from school because I stopped on in the sixth form, and then a bit like John Richards was the same, 18. But unlike John, I made my debut quite late. I was 21 because I was top scorer in the reserves for 2 seasons, which to get in the reserves at Wolves at the time was you had to be a good player. And then I finally got my chance, and on the Friday we were doing free kicks and corners and different things, and I was involved with the first team. And I think it was Willie Carr said, Mel, I've got a chance of playing tomorrow, And I went, but what they did, and they still do it at a lot of clubs, you didn't know what the team was. You went through everything, but the team, when we got back from training in the first team dressing room, there was the notice board. And Sammy Chung or whoever was the assistant manager. No, it was Sammy. Sammy was the manager that gave me my debut, but the assistant or whatever would come down and pin the team up on the dressing room 1 to 11 and number 12 because there was only 11 players and one sub then.
Yeah.
And it was there. I think I was number 10. John Richards was 9. I was playing up front with the King.
Wow.
Because I didn't look at the dressing. I didn't look at it because I'd never been on it before. And one of the lads said, "Mel, Ivesy, you better look at the board."
You remember who that player was that said that to you?
And I went and looked at the board. I think it was Willie again.
Willie Carr.
Yeah, so I made my debut against Sir Bobby Robson's Ipswich Town, who were going really well at the time. The players like Mick Mills was the captain, John, and probably one of the best players that I ever played against was one of their centre backs. What's his name now? I should.
Beatty.
When you get to my age,
Beatty was it?
Kevin Beatty.
Was it Beatty, Mal?
Well done.
Kevin Beatty.
It was. Kevin Beatty was playing the left side of the centre backs, and I hardly got I played well, to be fair, but bloody difficult opponent. And then I played against him again, obviously going through the years. And if it wasn't for injury, he would have played for England 100 times. He was a top player, Kevin Beatty, but he had too many injuries. And then eventually 2 years later, when the end of that season, when I made my debut, the end of that season, I went on an England B tour, and Paul Mariner from Ipswich was playing up front, and John Richards was on the same tour, and Steve Daly. And I went on that tour because Kenny Hibbett, who was supposed to go on, was injured, and then Bobby Robson said they came back, and I got called. My contract was up, and I'd played 4 games in that season. I'd played against Ipswich, Man United away. We ended up playing against Newcastle, funnily enough, away my 4th game up front with John Richards. And we lost 4-0. 50,000 mad Newcastle fans, and the team was rubbish that day. And I think the manager made 3 to 4 changes the following week, and I was one of them. Even though myself and John Richards hardly got a kick all game, but he had to change it, and that was in the November of the season. And then it wasn't until the beginning of April, and the season finishes in May, that I got back in the team, and my contract was up, and we changed it. We usually played 2 up front, and it was John Richards and a guy named Billy Rafferty that we got from Coventry who was playing up front. But Sammy Chung changed it and went 3 up front, and I played up front with the 3 of them. So we went 4-3-3 as opposed to 4-4-2. And it worked because we got a really deserved point, and I scored my first goal in league football at Stamford Bridge against Peter Bonetti, and I've still got a picture in my room here of me scoring, and right next to me, that couldn't get the ball just as I'm hitting it with my left foot into the top corner, was Ray Wilkins, the England captain, was their captain at the time. And so I from 4 games, no goals, I'd gone on to score my first goal in league football. The next game was Man United at home. All right, was Man United at home, and that was on Match of the Day, and that was when we only had 1 game on Match of the Day, not everyone.
Yeah.
And they chose Man United and Wolves because Man United were going for the title, neck and neck with Liverpool, and we were still needed points to avoid getting into a relegation scrap in the last few games of the season.
That's amazing.
And it was 1-1 with 10 minutes to go, and I scored the winner from a Derek Parkin cross, and got in between. It's a bit like Larsen scored there, but mine went right in the corner.
Yeah.
And I got in between McQueen and Buchan, the 2 centre backs for Man United, and We won
great.
2-1.
Big lads,
And
Mel.
then I scored. Then I played again. We beat an up-and-coming Villa team where 7 or 8 of their players were going to go on to win the European Cup, and we beat them 3-1 at Molineux, and I scored the first goal. So from 4 games, no goals, my contract's going to be up. I'm going to be let go, aren't I?
Yeah.
And I'm going to have a record of 4 games, no goals for my club, and I'm going to have to go somewhere else. But it's amazing how things can change very quickly. And then the last game of that season, we played at Ipswich, who I'd made my debut against earlier in the season. And we beat Ipswich, I think, 3-0. We played really well. I didn't score, but I played well. And I think that just prompted Bobby Robson to, when Kenny Ibbett couldn't go on that England B tour, I got the call up. So it was good. And then because I got called into the club, and I thought that I got called into the club because they were going to offer me another contract.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. I'd got a telegram from the FA to say you've been called up on this tour to New Zealand, Singapore.
You did get your new contract though.
Oh yeah, because there were 3 of us out of contract, and we all got 3-year contracts. Myself, George Berry, and Bob Hazel.
Bob Hazel,
two centre backs that we all came through at the same time. And good lads, by the way. You wanted them on your side in a battle, mate. I tell you.
Well, you need that. There's another question here for you, Mel. Here, Kasabian says you were a very good cricketer as well. What was the highest level you played?
Well, funnily enough, because I played cricket at just local non-league level, but I did actually. One of the best things I did score 200s in one weekend, not out. Scored 100 on the Saturday in a league game and 100 on a Sunday in a league game. But the best. Now I played for the old Wolverhamptonians. I played against Penn loads of times. Yeah, it was always a good game against Penn on the slope.
Yeah.
But one of the best outings of cricket I had, I was invited to play for the Bunburys, which is the charity team that you go, and we played in David Leatherdale's benefit game at Worcester, at New Road, Worcester. So we're playing at New Road on the pitch, and the team was made up of 1 or 2 on the TV. There was me. There was 2 ex-footballers, me and Ian Clarkson, the ex-Blues captain, and there was other people, and then there were 3 or 4 proper players. I mean, pros. And because they said, "Well, what do you do?" I said, "Well, I'm more of a batter than a bowler, but you had to do bits of everything." So anyway, I come into bat, and they put me into bat about 5 or 6. So I come in about 5, 6, and the 2 bowlers for Worcester, because it's Worcester's team, was the proper Worcester team. There were 2 England players. There was, they're both. One was a proper bowler for England. One was a change bowler because he was a better batsman. Was Graham Hick, because he bowled off spinners. Graham Hick, but he was obviously more in for his batting. And the other lad who was a proper bowler was I can't think of his name now. He come from Yorkshire. He was a spin bowler, funny lad. But they were both really good. They were both obviously proper Test match bowlers. And I scored 50 not out.
That's pretty impressive.
After I'd got to about a dozen, I was in the teens, a dozen. Gareth Batty, I think it was, or whatever. He was bowling, and he's funny as anything. And then he said, "We'll give you some runs, Mel. We've got to get you." He says, "You've played a bit, haven't you?" I said, "Well, just playing, Ollie." He said, "Oh, you're not." He says, "You've been lucky though." He said, And anyway, he was bowling. He was firing it in and doing and just varying it, trying to get me out. And I was getting little inside edges, little inside edges for 4, and let me. And when I got up to his end, he was taking. We were having a great banter. But he said, and then when I got into the third, he said, when I'm the non-strikers, then he went, "Got to get you out now." He says, "I've given you enough runs." And I said, "Well, I said I'm enjoying the day." Yeah, and I got 50. I had a great drink with him afterwards as well. Absolutely, that was because I love my cricket during the summer. I remember once I played in a Wolves game because I could only play because obviously you finish the game in May. The cricket season starts 1st of April, doesn't it? Goes into September, and so I think we'd won the league, and I'd played a lot of games, but I finished one game to come down to Whittick. I'd played in the first team at Wolves. I'd got in my car, drove down, didn't go into the players' lounge to have a drink with anybody. I went down straight to the thing to see us, to join in with the lads because we'd won the league.
Mate, that's
there you
incredible.
go. So I did, yeah. Look,
mate, we've got so many questions coming for you. So I know that Craig and Scott are enjoying this, listening to all of these as well. Quick fire questions. We've got about 5 minutes left. Larry Warren, who's one of our members, wants to know: do you think the players are overpaid these days, Mel?
Oh, well, look, I can tell you, Andy Gray came from Villa. British record transfer fee. He was obviously going to be on slightly more than I was on at Wolves. I didn't think about that at all. The same with Emily News. And they were, they'd probably gone up to the top paid at the club. But because they were great in the dressing room, you knew what you were going to get on a Saturday or whenever we played. They were just different class in the dressing room. They were brilliant. And good luck to them. What the lads get nowadays, good luck to them because there's so much money in the game now compared to when we played. You just look at the staff on a match day or the staff in the week, not even a match day. It's obviously far more in a match day. There's, thousands on a match day, or certainly quite a few hundred on a match day. You'd literally got a handful of people running the club. You got the manager. This is in the week, not a match day. You got the manager, the assistant manager, maybe a coach, a physio, the kit man, somebody looking after the youngsters, so the youth team coach. Then you'd got the secretary, maybe 2 staff in the accounts department. And that was it. You didn't have to take your socks off. This was people at the club. Maybe somebody to open up in the morning who was the groundsman and what have you. You probably you certainly wouldn't have to do anything more than take one sock off for all the people that were full time during the week. You'd obviously have more people on a match day running the place, but not anywhere near what it is now. Now, Wolves are either the 2nd or 3rd biggest employer in Wolverhampton. I think it's the university have taken over from Goodyears as being the main employer.
Which is why it's so important to retain the Premier League status, because there's so many people's livelihoods depend on it.
And I was told by somebody a few years ago. This was, I think, after Nuno had done so well. I was having a chat it was in a business setting with one of the Chamber of Commerce guys, and he said, "Mel, we do run the figures to get the business that has been attracted to Wolverhampton in the business front would have cost 100 million advertising that we've got through Wolves being in the Premier League and doing so well under Nuno." He said the business community just can't thank Wolves enough. The knock-on effect and they've measured it. The measurements are on a Monday, and it goes into Tuesday. you could tell by the absenteeism rate whether Wolves had. You'd tell if it was high, you knew Wolves had lost on the weekend. If there were more people in work, the atmosphere was better, you knew Wolves had won on the weekend. You could literally see from the statistics, and then you could overlay Wolves results.
With
and
what,
this was
with...
the chamber. This wasn't a football podcast. This was the Chamber of Commerce. So it's big. It's big business now. It's massive
big business, and which is why it's important we stay up. It looks like we're going to do. Rick's got another question. He wants to know, Mel, did you ever play Emily News International Soccer on the Commodore 64 or any other computer?
No, well, I'm kind of the IT consultant to everywhere that I go and what have you. In other words, no, I do know what Commodore 64 is, but I wouldn't know what to do with it.
I had one of them. Some people had a Spectrum. I had the Commodore 64. Bobby Smith wants to know, did Kenny Hibbett dive to win a penalty against Spurs in the 1981 FA Cup semi-final?
When Kenny Hibbett, when Willie Carr took the kick,
I'm guessing
and we
that's
got
what he means, yeah.
No, and then we drew 2-2 and went to a replay for the FA Cup semi-final. Yeah. Well, do you know the story around that?
Crack on.
That semi-final, I failed a fitness test.
You did?
On the morning of the game. Because I played 3 days later, the Tuesday night at Arsenal in the replay. And most of you are saying now, well, that's you didn't play in the first game, we drew 2-2. We lost 3-0 second game and you played. So I probably shouldn't have played, but there you go.
Nice one. Mel.
But it, go on.
Pink Panther wants to know, he says he's 61. He was brought up on King John Kenny Doug Waggy. Who was the best Wolves player you played with?
Well, I remember playing with Waggy in a reserve game. I was still at school. It was one of my final trial games, so to speak. I played in the reserves, and I'd played in the youth team, and then they wanted to see me playing a men's game. They wanted to see me playing a reserve game before they'd offer me a contract. And I played in a reserve game. And funnily enough, I came in the dressing room 2:00. They told me to be there. 3:00 kickoff at Molineux in the old Central League. And he said, Mel, number 10. There was a lad named Dangerfield from Birmingham who was number 9. I think he played a couple of first team games. And then number 11 was Waggy.
Yeah.
Now, where I come from, I'm thinking, well, I can't call him Waggy. I couldn't call him Dave. I had to call him Mr. Wagstaff or Sir. So anyway, about 2:45, I hadn't seen him do anything. He'd got up, walked round. It was in his shorts by then, but that was about it. He was in his shorts by then, and then he was round the corner because I'd just gone to go to the toilet just before we go out, about 2:45, and he was round there, and he said, "Stop there, son." By the door, looks out over the big bath, the showers, the toilets, the sauna, and then you're looking out into the first team dressing room. And he said, "Stop there." I was Waggy's lookout, and then his left hand come up, and his pre-match warm-up was a fag.
Craig, if you're listening to it on the podcast, Scott's kind of going like rolling his eyes, and Craig's laughing. Craig's laughing.
And,
He's got his hand on his head.
And it must have been, I'm thinking this is 2 or 3. It must have only been about 20 seconds, but it seemed like 2 or 3 minutes to me. Because I'm thinking, what's going to happen if the coach comes who's taking us for the day? I think it was Brian Owen who's taking the reserves. And then he just puts it down, stands on it, says, "Thanks, son," and just comes and sits down. Anyway, we're out on the pitch. Now I'm trying to impress because it's a trial game for me. And I've got probably a dozen or 20 of my mates from school are watching. And I'm making I'm after about first 10 minutes, I make a run into the inside left position. Waggy's not moved from the touchline. And he got the ball, and I'm gone, put my hand up. Excuse me, Mr. Wagstaff, sir, could you pass the ball there, please? Because I'm running there.
Excuse me, Mr. Wagstaff.
And before I've kind of just gone like that, no backlift at all. He's just gone ping with his left foot, ping. And it's gone like an Exocet missile, right at a grass cutter. It's just sailed across the grass. And this is about 40 yards. And I've met it. And for once, anybody that's watched me, I actually controlled it well. And, you know, I think we got a corner out of it. Great. Anyway, 10 minutes later, next chance, Waggy's still not moved. He's just shuttled kind of 20 yards up and down that left-hand touchline. And he's got the ball again. And this time I'm in the inside right position, and I put my hand up to say, excuse me, Mr. Wagstaff, sir, I don't need I need a ball over there centre back so that I can get in inside right position, so that I can either take it down and whatever. And anyway, again, no backlift at all, ping. And the ball's gone arching over there, and I've gone there. It's drawn the centre back in, but he realises, oh, flip, I can't get it. So I've got it, chest it down, and again, I actually got it on target, ping, inside right position, edge of the box, ping, corner. And it was like that all the game. He hardly moved out of position, but when he got the ball, it was just like unbelievable. The best left foot. And then I'm doing stuff in training with him as well. Best left foot I have ever seen. You know, you think some of the lads now have got good left feet, but nobody better than. There's some good lads, ain't near his quality, whatever, but some of the stuff I've seen Waggy do, best left foot I've ever seen and worked with.
I love it. Another question here from Noah, who's over in the US of A. Another one of our members wants to know, what's your most memorable goal you scored in your career?
Well, there's a couple. Obviously, the first one I ever scored, I've got a picture of it here against Chelsea, England captain and England goalkeeper. First ever goal at Stamford Bridge. The most important goal I probably scored was 6, 7 minutes before the end of this semi-final of the League Cup. We were 1-1 with Swindon after losing the first leg 2-1, so we're 3-2 down on aggregate. And if we didn't find a goal from somewhere, we were out the cup. And the ball, we were attacking the South Bank end, and there were 20,000 at least in the South Bank because it was chocker that night. This was when it was all, as it already been said, standing up, all standing, and the ball popped up on the edge of the 18-yard box, South Bank end, towards, like, it is the Billy Wright stand now, that side, and it popped up, and I was inside the ball popped up, and I'd got me back to goal, and it was one of those that I didn't think about anything. I just instinctively just attempted an overhead kick. Right foot, that's left side of the box, but I just did an overhead kick. And the ball sailed over right into the far corner to get us to score. And I didn't see the ball go in, because I was on my back. I think Derek Parkin, by the time the ball had gone in, Derek Parkin had jumped on me. Somebody else had jumped on me. And I only saw the goal on TV sometime later.
And do you know what? I think I've got that goal. So I'm just gonna put it on the I'm just gonna try and share this screen, see if I got it. It's on a YouTube thing. I think this might be the goal. So just tell me if it's
well, that's the penalty. That's Bradshaw.
That's their penalty. When Gray's shot was blocked, and Melly seized on the rebound.
Here we go.
When Gray's shot was blocked, and Melly seized on the. But the passage
No.
to Wembley was sealed when
That was
Gray's shot
that was John
blocked.
Richards.
How was it?
No,
It said Mel Leeds jumped on the rebound.
it's very
Melly.
very difficult to. No, it was John Richards because
Ah,
I'd scored. I scored. You can see how the South Bank's packed. I scored at right at the edge of the box, not the one you can see now, but at the far side towards the Steve Bull as it is now.
Seized on the
You
rebound.
very rarely get the footage of my goal
Right,
because that's the
Dave
winner.
was there that night.
right. Okay. Let me just go at the front then.
Under Emlyn Hughes, Wolves would never be found wanting for effort. In the 1980 League Cup semi-final against Swindon, they displayed all their fighting qualities. 2-1 down from the first leg. 2 goals from John Richards, now supported by Andy Gray, put Wolves ahead on aggregate. Swindon's equaliser came from the penalty spot. Goalkeeper
That
Paul
was the
Bradshaw's
one that you saw
enthusiasm
go into
getting
the
the better
far corner.
Yeah.
of him. But the passage to Wembley was sealed when
That's the same goal as before. There you go then. I tried my best, Mel.
You saw it go in, the one that went over and went into the net, but it's not the best bit of footage, to be honest.
No. I've just tried.
Yeah,
to
that was
Google it.
mine, the one that went in, not the one when they saw John Richards, because John Richards scored 2 on the night because we won 3-1, and I scored the one that went into the side netting.
Wow, that's fantastic. Joe wants to know: do you wonder if you remember us stopping Leeds?
It also gives you an idea that it was difficult to play at home because the Steve Bull as it is now is so far away from the ground. It's difficult to get the atmosphere. But and probably the other memorable goal was the one I've already alluded to, was when we beat Man U at Man U.
In the one season, yeah. Joe wants to know: do you wonder if you remember us stopping Leeds from winning the title?
That was just before. That was just before I was at the club, or I was at the club, but I didn't get in the team. When was that? That was, I can't remember.
1972.
Yeah, that was before I joined. Yeah.
There you
1972.
go.
I was on the terraces, but I wasn't playing then. Yeah, I remember it, but I wasn't playing.
A question for all, and maybe quick fire because we ain't got long left. Would you like a new stadium, but if it was in a different area of Wolverhampton? Craig, Scott?
Yeah. I mean, a year ago, Dave, I'd have said no. But now having a bigger stadium is absolutely crucial to growth of the club. So the answer is, if that's the only place we could build it, yes.
Scott?
Yeah, I agree with Craig. Look, I'm sentimental and I love Molineux. If we could extend Molineux in some way and make it bigger where it is right now, great. But it's important. Like, look at Everton's new stadium. It looks amazing from the pictures I've seen and the video I've seen. And then you look at Tottenham's before that. Ideally, a new stadium, maybe somewhere, maybe on the outskirts of Wolverhampton. Do you know what I mean? Like, to just get a bigger stadium would be great for the club financially, definitely, because we've got enough fans to fill it.
Mel, any thoughts on that?
No, I agree with the previous two. I think that it'd be a big wrench for people to leave White Hart Lane, where I did. That was the first big stadium, the proper stadium that I played in for Wolves was White Hart Lane. It wasn't Molineux, because I was still at school and I played in the FA Youth Cup, and it was we were drawn away to Tottenham, and Glenn Hoddle played for Tottenham in the Tottenham team that we played. Yeah. So it would be a big wrench for the Tottenham fans, but the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, I've been there a few times, and
Amazing
it's
stadium. And the new
absolutely
Everton
fantastic.
Stadium.
And
The
and
new Everton
Everton looks the
Stadium
same. Yeah.
it
It'll
does
be a
look.
wrench because Goodison Park is really old-fashioned. It's a bit like the baseball ground was, with just all the terraced houses round it. Same as Leicester have had to move not too far. But I agree. I think that the main thing is that we build a stadium fitting to take Wolves
To the next level.
into the next level. So I'm not precious if they can't do everything around the present site. If they have to go somewhere else, then so be it.
Yeah, you know what? And I think most fans would like to see that. Obviously, we need to get it right on the pitch and all that. We're coming up to the 150th anniversary of Wolves in
Well, even
a
Man
couple of years.
United are doing it, aren't they?
Well, to be honest, if you've got a long-term ambition to grow, and it's not just about growing the revenue, the capacity. It's all the stuff that you can do around it, because there's revenues that come in on every single day. We see that at Wolves as conferences going on, but the match day experience for fans these days is very important. And like the people in certain parts of the stand, like the Steve Bull, you've got so little space. The concourses are not fit for it. And you go to these modern stadiums like at Tottenham, I'm sure Everton, they're spacious the way they do. People are more comfortable. They do spend more money because of that, because they can get the food quicker and stuff. Yeah, it's an investment. It's a lot of money, but you have to budget that over a period of time. And I think that's sometimes the frustration is there's a lot of things that have been talked about with Wolves and what we're going to do, and they all seem to be in the long grass, and they seem to disappear. So, but this is a longer conversation for another day. Pink Panther says, Mel, I've got tears in my eyes. Mel, bringing back so many memories of when I used to watch the Wolves back in the day. Another one said, so
who was that?
That's Pink Panther.
Pink Panther. Well, if you've noticed, I have to keep. I have as well. So I'll join the club.
The emotions come back. Julie says it's really interesting hearing our history. Kevin Harris has been on the South Bank with 26,000 in there, he says. Just having a look at there's any other questions. I'm trying to run through. New stadium at Ashmore Park, someone says here. I mean, it's an in-question question. Chris wants to know, what does the panel think about Jeff Shee's benchmarking this season? Noting Newcastle's one of the clubs with best benchmarked away. He's talking about the benchmarking of the season ticket prices. Again, I think this is probably a much longer debate that I think we should probably have, and maybe Chris can come on and take part in that debate. But Mel, just your thoughts, because I think we've heard from Scott and Tuber on this in the past, but maybe a little bit of thought about where the season ticket prices are, because it is fair to say the season ticket prices have gone up, and it's gone to general sale every single game this year, whereas people were always moaning they couldn't get a ticket. What's your just thoughts on the pricing? And like I say, the benchmark against teams like Newcastle.
It's a difficult one for me to answer, to be honest, because I'm very fortunate that if I go to the game, I'm either doing something for the club, or I might be doing the radio, or if I'm not, I don't. I can get a seat as long as I ask. I can get a seat as an ex-player, so through the former players association. So they're very good with us like that. So I don't. I'm fortunate in the fact that I don't have to get a season ticket. So it's difficult for me to. I wouldn't know what the prices are. I've got
Well,
an
no, that's
idea.
fair.
I think,
No,
but
that's fair.
I wouldn't know exactly what they are.
Chris has thrown a thing in there, and it is a subject that is going to come to the fore again very, very soon, because obviously the pricing strategy for next season, fans are going to be. I mean, Wolves, the hierarchy at Wolves will have two plans.
I can tell you when I did have to pay. The first time I paid was to go into the North Bank, was 1 and threepence.
Yeah. 1 and threepence. That just goes to say.
Now, can anybody, for the younger fans, 1 and threepence to get into the game? So you'd be going into the North Bank today, which is the Stan Cullis, for 1 and threepence. How much in today's money is 1 and threepence?
I don't know. I'm sure someone.
It is six and a half pence, and you don't have we've ditched the half halfpennies, but 6p, 6.5 pence in today's money.
Yeah.
So
bad,
I think that's what you can. So you take inflation into account. It's gone up, but it's nowhere near what it is now.
No, absolutely. North Street said day prices are frozen. Yes, prices should be frozen for adults, but we still obviously wait on concessions. And who knows, maybe they'll reduce the prices and go, do you know what, we want a full amount. More people come to this. I mean, there are models, especially in Germany. I know I've talked about this, where they have the stadiums, the prices are lower. They fill the stadiums because the prices are low, because more people can come and they spend more money whilst they're there. And stuff like that.
Well, the big thing for me is that you can't. The one group that you shouldn't be pricing people out of is the youngsters.
Yeah.
For people to bring families, because they're the next. I was hooked on Wolves when I was given the money for my bus fare, and the 1 and threepence to get into the ground, and the bus fare to come up to Molineux when I was 7. And I know you wouldn't do it now, but my mum and dad give me the money. Nobody else come with me. Just tell me what to do.
Yeah. And you're right, because getting young fans through the door is the future generations, and that's it.
Yeah. I was hooked then. I hadn't got, obviously, I loved it. So I didn't really miss a half game. Unless I was playing at school and it was a long way away, and you couldn't get back in time. But most of the time you played Saturday morning, and you got time to get back, get something to eat, and then get to the game for 3 o'clock kickoff on a Saturday afternoon. I know 3 o'clock Saturday afternoon will never catch on now, but it did when I was playing.
And your clock Saturday afternoon never catch on. Absolutely. Listen, guys, it's gone on a lot longer than I thought it would tonight. It's been a great show. So much to talk about. It's been an absolute pleasure having a Wolves legend, Mel, come on and give his thoughts. I know there's been lots of questions, lots of reminiscing, lots of talk about the current thing, loads of questions. It's been brilliant. I am conscious of the time for everyone. It's just going past 11 p.m. at night as we're recording this. And we're coming up. We're nearly on 2.5 hours. Can you believe it? The time has absolutely flown. So I do want to say a massive big thank you to Craig.
I've missed my hot cup of cocoa because of you.
Oh, you've missed your cocoa. Well, hopefully you can get one now, Mel. Scott, thanks ever so much for taking time to join us. Guys, so many of you join us in the chat live. And Mel, thank you ever so much for giving up your time tonight. It's been absolutely fascinating. The League Cup
it's been great.
All your memories.
Well, it's my pleasure. Always a pleasure to join you, Dave. You know that, and rest of the guys. It's been absolutely brilliant, and a lot of the comments have been spot on as well. So brilliant.
Absolutely, guys. So, guys, thanks ever so much for joining. If you've subscribed to the YouTube channel tonight, Always Wolves YouTube, I really, really appreciate that. That helps us out, and it shows that you're enjoying it. So that's much appreciated. We are literally 3 short of 36,100 subscribers. So just three of you subscribe now. You'll get us to that next milestone. Thanks if you joined us off Facebook and X as well. Kasabian saying good night from Germany. I know there's loads of people all over the world that's watched as well. Our final thought, Chris has said here, we should pay our respects to Mike Kenning. Apparently, he sadly passed away. So we do send our love, respects. Well pointed out, Chris, to Mike Kenning as well and his family. And again, to finish the show, thanks to all of you guys that tune in and stick with us. It means a lot that you've watched it live. If you're watching back on catch up, leave your thoughts in the comment section. Hit the likes. Let YouTube know. And if you're listening to it back on the podcast as well, make sure you subscribe on all your good all podcast providers. From myself, Craig, Scott, and Mel, to all of you, always Wolves.